Happy 2025, everybody. This is my part 2 of books that I read in 2024. I did a separate video earlier in the year, maybe about halfway through the year, just talking about the 20 books that I read in 2024. And I thought it'd be a good idea to finish off what I read in 2024. I guess if I read 20 books halfway through the year, I read 24 more books. What I'm trying to say is that I read 44 books last year. So if I read 20 in the first half, then I read 24 in the second half. There we go. And that's pretty much all there is to know. I do want to keep them a little brief and not go into such big descriptions about the books and just kind of give my thoughts on what I read, and then at the end do some 2024 superlatives for the books that I read last year. We left off with Middle of the Night by Riley Sager, so after I read that book, I picked up Happy Place by Emily Henry again. I started this very early in 2024, maybe even 2023. I had started it at some point in my life and I could not get into it, but I really wanted to give it another try. So I did, and I'm glad I did. I would say this is probably one of my least favorite Emily Henry books. I just had a really hard time connecting to the characters, but I still love the setting. Couldn't really get into the characters, but I still like this book. I think I ended up giving it three stars. Then on Kindle, I read Stillhouse Lake by Rachel Kane. This is the first book in a series of books. I think there's like 5 books in the series, but essentially it's a mystery book about this woman who discovers that her husband is actually a serial killer. And that's not a spoiler, that's literally in the synopsis. The first part of this book, I was hooked so bad. It was so amazing the way that it was written, and just immediately I was on board, and then I wasn't. I just did not care about the rest. I feel like it fell so far off the rails. I actually ended up giving it 1 star. I was so mad because the ending, it just didn't get me. And I think I was just reading it in my head being like, this isn't gonna do it for me. So that could have played a part in it, but yeah, 1 star. Then I picked up Remarkably Bright Creatures. I really enjoyed the setting of this book because it's set in Washington State, kind of in the Seattle area. I really enjoyed the octopus Marcellus. He was very cute. I really liked the writing and the story and just the overall premise, but there was one character in this book, I think his name was Cam or something like that. I don't think I've ever had a character bother me so much. And if you've read this book, then I think you'll agree, because there's never been anybody worse in a book. The way that it all wrapped up in the end, I really liked. But I think I ended up giving it 3 stars because I just wasn't really super interested, and the octopus was my favorite character in the book, more than the humans. But I think a lot of people would say the same. He was very, very charming. Then I picked up my second Abby Jimenez book. This is Yours Truly, and I really enjoyed it. If you watched the first video, I said that I read Part of Your World, and I absolutely loved that book. I love the way that Abby Jimenez writes men, the sense of like what he's doing as like acts of service and kindness and all this kind of stuff. But I did feel like it was very similar to Part of Your World. I felt like Jacob and Daniel from Part of Your World were very similar in the sense of like this perfect man. I don't know, I just didn't see a lot of differences between them. So I kind of felt like I was reading the same book. I still really, really enjoyed this book, and I think I gave it 4 stars. So it's still amazing, but I just kind of felt like I was reading the same thing. Then I got to a book that I've had on my TBR for I don't even know how long, but it feels so good when you finally get those off of your list, because it's like, okay, I did it. I finally did it. And that was Love and Respect. This is a book I literally think it's been on my shelf for like years. Men seek and want respect, and women want love, and just kind of the cycle they can chase each other around it. And I recommend this book to anybody. I highly recommend if you are single, engaged, married. This book is for everybody. Then I picked up Little Fires Everywhere by Celeste Ng. I did end up moving this book to audio because I just could not get through it. I don't know what it was, but I did like the writing, but I just don't think I really liked the characters, and that's why I didn't want to continue picking this book up. There are some cool conversational topics in here though that I did enjoy, but yeah, I kind of just wanted to get through this book and just be done with it. I think I ended up giving 3 stars, maybe 2.5. Next few books are audiobooks and Kindle. So first of all, I joined a book club. So that was really fun. So our first book was His and Hers by Alice Feeney. I read one other Alice Feeney book a couple years ago. Which one was it? Rock, Paper, Scissors. Oh my gosh. I did not really care for that one, Rock, Paper, Scissors, but this one I did really enjoy. Not a lot, but better than Rock, Paper, Scissors. I honestly feel like it would be best, if you don't know what this book is about, to just go in blind and just experience it without knowing. There is one scene in this book kind of towards the end that kind of still haunts me, and maybe if you've read it you would know what I'm thinking about. I think I ended up giving it like 3 stars. It didn't stick out to me in any particular way, but I still really enjoyed it. Then I listened to The 5 Love Languages by Gary Chapman. This is a book you've probably heard of, the 5 different love languages, and it was very interesting reading about all the different ones and knowing what my love languages are and knowing what my husband's are, reading about what his love languages are and ideas of how to show love through those love languages. I really enjoyed. On Kindle, I read Every Last Word by Tamara Ireland Stone. I don't think that YA is my genre anymore. I think being a 25-year-old, I'm past the young adult stage. However, I do have friends who are my age who still read young adult, and that's great. But I just think for me, the writing is a little juvenile, and with this book, I felt that way. Anyway, the reason that I wanted to read this book in the first place is because there is a plot twist around the 75% mark that I guess gets people like very shocked and blown out of the water. And it wasn't until we were about like 73-74% in that I thought about what the plot twist was and just said, that would be weird if that happened. And then it did. I didn't want that to be real because that would feel kind of silly, and then it happened, and so then it was silly. Then I thought it was finally time for me to pick up a classic because I wanted to read more classics last year, and this is the only one that I read. So Fahrenheit 451 is another book that has been on my radar for a really long time, but I never got around to it because classics are hard for me to pick up. Almost the first 5 pages, I could not put this book down. Real quick, if you don't know what this book is about, it's basically a book about books being illegal. Our main character Guy, his job as a firefighter is to burn books. And the way that the author described the burning of books and the pleasure that he got from burning books. But then pretty much after that, I started to lose touch, and the marriage, like the way that his marriage was written and just the wife and the neighbor, I don't know, I kind of lost it. I did still like it, but I had a hard time getting through it. I think I ended up giving this one like 3 stars. This is the part of the year where things started to pick up and I really started to enjoy these books. This one was a complete surprise. I found this at a library sale and I've seen it for years, but I just thought, you know what, I'm gonna give it a try. And that is Archer's Voice. The way, hang on, let me just like get myself together. I think about Archer and Bree every day, and I really enjoyed the writing in this. You know what, the writing, it was just them. It was just them as a couple and what they went through and their hardships that they overcame together, and just so good. Like, I love them. I love them. Then I wanted to continue reading about them, but they didn't have a second book. But Archer's brother, Travis, did. But I just wanted to read something that had Bree and Archer in them because I love them so much. So this was kind of his brother's redemption story, because in Archer's Voice, his brother is kind of a terrible person, but he gets redeemed in this, and I really liked his story with Haven. Another book club book, The Body Keeps the Score by, oh my goodness, I don't even know how to say his name. This was very good, very eye-opening. I really enjoyed this, and honestly, reading this made me realize how lucky I am to have never experienced a lot of what goes on in this book. Just reading some of the things that some people have been through is honestly so heartbreaking, and I don't know, it was very eye-opening just knowing different family dynamics and people dynamics and some lives that people just are subject to. I still want to do the superlatives at the end of this video for the books that I read last year, but what I will say is this next book is forever ingrained in my brain. Like, I don't know how to be okay, and I'm not even being dramatic when I say that, because if you've read this, then you know. This book is also set in Seattle, and I think, being from Washington, if you haven't read this book, you would really enjoy it because of the Seattle setting. I mean, even that aside, like the girlhood, the friendship, the relationships, this book was perfect. It was perfect, and you should read it if you haven't. Another Riley Sager book for spooky season. I read Home Before Dark, and I really like this book. I love Riley Sager. I will always love Riley Sager. His writings, his thrillers always get me. This one did. I think I ended up giving it like 3 stars, but I did really enjoy this one. Then the damage kept being done, and I picked up the 3rd book in the Magnolia Park series. That is literally, if you can see, the sweatshirt that I'm wearing, How's the Weather Parks. My husband got it for me for Christmas because he knows that I love Magnolia Parks. The 3rd book just follows BJ and Magnolia going about their life. Nothing goes right, and then things are great, and then the end, things are not. I'm almost convinced that these people are real, and that's what's really hard for me to grasp, is that these people live in this book and not out in the world. Like, the way that Jessa Hastings writes these people, I'm like, you have to know them. Like, there's no way you're just coming up with this in your head. These people and their likes and their dislikes and their lives and their relationships, like, there's no way. And that is why this book is so good. The Last Letter by Rebecca Yarros. This is my first Rebecca Yarros book. I know she's written Fourth Wing. I know she's written Iron Flame. I know the 3rd one is coming out. I just don't know what it is, but I cannot get into fantasy. Just know, like, dragons and fairies, I don't know why. I can't do it. But this book actually wrecked me. It actually destroyed me. I actually didn't like this book for the first like 50%. I was like, why? Nothing is happening. What are we even doing? And then as they started to fall in love, I started to fall in love. Y'all, I completely skipped 2 books, and that just shows you that I did not care about them. She's Not Sorry by Mary Kubica. I listened to this book and I did not like it. I really wanted to, because Local Woman Missing was actually good. I did like it. But this one, I just didn't, and the twist at the end did not get me. I mean, it did, but not in a way that was significant enough to care. I think I gave this book like 2 stars. It just really did not. I did not care. I did not. Then I read my second and last book by Frida McFadden. That is The Locked Door. I cannot tell you one thing about this book. I don't remember a single thing. I am okay not remembering a single thing. What I don't like about this book is maybe not so much the book, but the 2 that I've read by Frida McFadden, the writing. I just don't like the way that she writes. I always feel bad saying like things like that. Author puts in their hard work to put out a book and they're proud of it, and then someone comes on YouTube and it's just like, it's not a good book. That makes me feel bad, but that's how I felt. And I'm not gonna sit here and be like it was great, because it wasn't, and I can't even tell you any of the characters' names. Then another book club book we read was Hidden Potential by Adam Grant. I really liked this book, though I listened to this on audio, so Adam Grant narrates it. It felt like he was very excited to read his own book. Like, I just was really into the way that he was reading it. It's just about different people's stories and how they overcame the odds of their life or their circumstances to rise above whatever it was that they did and find their hidden potential. And I really like this. Being a singer, I related to it. I related to a lot of the stories, so it was very good. I did like it, and I think I gave it 4 stars. All right, then it was Christmas time, so I picked up The Most Wonderful Crime of the Year by Allie Carter. This is my first Allie Carter book, and also I haven't read a Christmas book in so long, so this was super fun. People are describing it as Knives Out at Christmas, and that's 100% correct. This was very cute and very fun, and I really enjoyed the main characters and the way that they banter and the side stories of both of them. Actually, this book was really funny now that I'm thinking about it. If you didn't read this last year, I highly recommend reading it around Christmas time because it's super fun and like cozy. It's like a cozy mystery, I guess you could say, but I recommend this for the Christmas time. It is just really cute and fun. I could not stop thinking about The Last Letter, and I wanted to read another Rebecca Yarros book, so I picked up The Things We Leave Unfinished, and this once again also ripped me in half. I will say I did like The Last Letter better, but they're completely different stories, but both military romances. And I really liked the dual timeline in this. This follows our main character Georgia, who her grandmother is a romance writer and she passes away, and so Georgia has to hire somebody to finish one of her books. Dual timelines between present day and then back during the war when the grandmother met her love interest. When I tell you, there's a twist in this, and it 100% got me in the best way. I really enjoyed this. I think Rebecca Yarros writes great fiction, so I guess that's an indication that she probably writes great fantasy, but I did really enjoy this. On audio, I listened to Educated by Tara Westover. I cannot believe I waited so long to read this. What she overcame and what she went through and what she's gone through and like everything. I really liked this book, and I like how she sought out an education after being at home for so long and just wanting to go out in the world, and just inconsistencies of her parents and her life. Like, it was just so good. And the last book that I read of 2024 was What Lies in the Woods on my Kindle. This was our book club pick, and I'm so glad that I read this finally. I will say this book didn't really thrill me or get me very excited or interested. I don't know. I feel like there was nothing really like gripping about this book. I'm not going to be left thinking about the ending. Like, it was kind of a book that I read and I moved on. But I think I gave this book like 3 stars. All right, now for my 2024 superlatives. I did this on TikTok, but I added a couple more, so there's gonna be more. The shortest book that I read in 2024 was Hope in Empty Places by Charlie Weir, 177 pages. So a quick read, but a very good one. The longest book that I read in 2024 was The Great Alone. I think this one sits at like 545 pages. New author that I read this year, that is an auto by author, just meaning whatever they come out with, I will immediately be buying no matter what it is. And that is Abby Jimenez. I have yours truly somewhere in my book stacked down there. But I genuinely enjoyed both Abby Jimenez books. I really love her writing. I love the way that she creates depth in her characters, and it's not just so romancy. There's a lot more to the story than just them finding love with each other. Then we have most thrilling book of 2024, and for me that was Middle of the Night by Riley Sager. What I found so thrilling about this was, honestly, it's all his books, but the way that he writes suspense is so gripping. I just really love the way that he writes, and what I liked about this book is that you got chapters of all the different characters' perspectives, and so you got to see a little bit into each of them, and that just made each character even more questionable, which I really liked, which added to the suspense and thrill that I really liked. Most romantic book of 2024, The Last Letter by Rebecca Yarros. I really I'm sorry, I'm just not over this. Beckett's friend Ryan passes away in combat, and Ryan then leaves a last letter asking Beckett to move to Colorado, where Ryan's sister is, and take care of her and her kids. And everything that follows is honestly just truly the most romantic thing I've ever read. The way that he just essentially drops everything to just tend to her, this woman that he doesn't even really know, although there's a little more to that. But it was just so good. I just swooned the whole time. Then we have a book that had the most potential, and for me, that was The Quarry Girls by Jess Lowry. I mentioned this in the first video that I liked the beginning of this book, but it kind of fell off. Maybe did I even say that? I don't even know. But that's how I felt. I just felt like there was so much buildup and I was on the edge of my seat waiting for something twisty and exciting to happen. And what did happen definitely was twisty, but not exciting. And I felt a little let down by the ending. For me, this had the most potential, but fell flat. This one's kind of just for fun, but the prettiest book cover of 2024. And I would say The Giver of Stars by Jojo Moyes. I just love like the colors and it's like a painting almost, and it's just beautiful. Like I could honestly just hang this in my home. It's just so pretty. Least favorite book of 2024, and for me that was The Locked Door by Frida McFadden. I just really did not like this book, and I can't even tell you anything about it. I've already said that, but that's all I can say. This is different though from having the most potential but being a letdown, because I don't feel like this had any potential the second I started reading it. But I did want to give it another chance because this is one of the books that a lot of Frida lovers talk about. So I wanted to see if I liked it, and I didn't. And my most favorite of 2024 that I will continue to think about until the day that I die. See if you can guess what it is, because I feel like I talked pretty highly about it when I did. But if you guessed Firefly Lane by Kristen Hanna, you're correct. This book was my favorite book of 2024. Everything I said a few minutes ago just still stands true. The writing about womanhood and sisterhood, girlhood, relationships, just literally everything. And honestly, I just really liked that it was set in Seattle. Like I feel like just being from there, it made it more cozy and more felt like home in a way. I will not soon forget about this, like literally ever. Those are all the books that I read in 2024. I'm so glad I split all these books between 2 videos, because that would have just been a really long video and I don't even know if anybody would want to see that. I am so happy with my 2024 reading. My reading goal was 30 books and I read 44. And I don't think I've ever overachieved that much in my entire life. I'm super excited for all the books that I'll be reading in 2025. If you have any recommendations, please let me know. I've been posting a lot of book content on TikTok, so if you're interested in that, you can go to my TikTok. I'm really excited for 2025 and everything that is to come. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!